All right, everybody, welcome to episode number 15 of the Untap podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Jonny Esports, joined as always by JT. How you doing, my dude?
I'm doing all right. Down here at the Jankyard, things are looking okay.
Good. That's good to hear. We're sorry for the delay on getting this episode out, folks, but life is a thing. So today...
Yeah, I mean, let you behind the curtain. I've been a little sick, so I mean,
yeah,
it
he's
is
been
what
sick.
it is.
I've just been crazy, kind of busy, lots of stuff going on, but we're back at it again today, folks. So for what we're going to do today, we're going to play a pack one, pick one, because Strixhaven did come out, and while we don't quite hitting the release, it's our first podcast since the release, so we're going to play a little bit of that. Then we're going to touch on some decks. JT's got a Gladiator deck and a deck he didn't actually make, but a deck he wants to talk about, as well as I got a new Commander deck that I'm very, very excited to pull out next time I get to play Commander. So we'll talk about that. And then I guess we'll just talk about how Strixhaven has felt in this new meta at the end of it, end of all of that. So let's just get straight into it. Let's get into pack one, pick one. You got a pack for us, JT?
So first, let's just, for those of you that missed that sound, there it is.
Actual pack.
So I have only opened one pre-release worth of packs so far, and I'm finding already when you open the packs that the addition of the Mystical Archives really makes for a different experience in a good way.
Yeah.
All right, so I've got my brand new progressive glasses because I'm old. So we're using these to read. Here we go. First card is Eureka Moment. 2 and a green and a blue. It's Quandrix card. Instant, draw 2 cards. You may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield.
I like that card. It's a pretty good one. It says draw cards on it. I love it.
Yeah, that's your jam.
Yeah, it is my jam. It's in green blue, which is just a wild time, but whatever. It's fine.
Well, and from what I'm seeing and hearing, that in limited, green blue is quite popular. Next up, we got Owlin Shield Mage, 3, a white and a black for creature bird warlock. It's a 3/3 with flying, and it has ward, and the ward cost is pay 3 life.
All right. You know what?
3/3 for 5.
It's okay. I would be still sitting on that first card, the Eureka Moment.
Yeah, I would agree. We got another multicolor card. Oh, and it's in Johnny's favorite colors.
Oh my goodness.
For 5 and 1 blue and 1 red, it is Elemental Masterpiece. Sorcery. Create 2 4/4 blue and red elemental creature tokens. And for 2 blue-red hybrid mana, discard Elemental Masterpiece and create a treasure token.
It's real expensive.
It's really expensive, but I do like the fact that you have another mode on it. Like you can just spend 2 to make a treasure, which is not great, but it's not bad.
True. At least it essentially cycles, quote unquote. Obviously, it doesn't exactly do that, but it gives you a treasure token. So that's
treasure cycling.
Yeah, it gives you that little bit of extra value. If you get this, say you started this with your opening hand, you're like, I have no hopes of casting this anytime soon. You can definitely get rid of it. So it's actually, it's not bad.
Yeah, I mean, if it's just a straight 7 mana make 2 4/4s, I'm like, ugh. But yeah, that gives you options. Next up, we have Vortex Runner. It's 2 and a blue for creature human wizard. It's a 2/3. As long as you control 8 or more lands, Vortex Runner gets +1/+0 and cannot be blocked.
Yeah, that's gonna be a no for me, dog.
Yeah, that's a little much. Arrogant Poet, 1 and a black creature human warlock. It's a 2/1. Whenever Arrogant Poet attacks, you may pay 2 life. If you do, it gains flying until end of turn. For 2/1?
Yeah, there's 2/1s that do a lot more at the 2 drop. Then you don't have to pay life every single time you want to have evasion. So
yeah, speaking of which, Pilgrim of the Ages. It is a 2 and a white for a 2/1 spirit. When it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic Plains card, reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle.
All right.
That's better. And for 6 generic mana, return Pilgrim of the Ages from your graveyard to your hand.
I like this
It's
card.
not bad. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm with you. I'm still on Eureka Moment so far.
Yeah, for sure I am. But like, I like the idea of this card. It's that white ramp that they're kind of sort of missing, I guess, a little bit in Commander,
Yep.
I guess. And then I know we're talking about limited right now, but just thinking about it, just because a lot of the times sets come out and I don't even think about the commons and I don't even know what's out there until I open packs like this and you're like, oh, hey, this is a common that's totally playable in blah 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 format. So cool. I didn't even know this card existed.
Yeah, and I mean the one thing I would say, the one reason the Pilgrim is up there is it is one color as opposed to the Eureka Moment being two colors.
True.
Okay, Illustrious Historian, 1 in a red, creature human shaman. It's a 2/1. Oh, geez, we got a run of 2/1s. And for 5, and exile it from your graveyard, create a 3/2 red and white spirit creature token. I'm not enjoying the red white.
No,
I mean it's okay, but it's like it's not even sure what it wants to do. It kind of wants to beat down like red and white, but then it wants to get stuff in your graveyard and get rid of them and have lots of mana.
What I've kind of noticed is an interesting theme of all these cards is that they have like the early play. It's just a 2/1, or this thing dies later. You pay 5 just to make a 3/2 or whatever. Or again, we go back to that first Is It card that had the 2 mana thing. So it has like, this is what this card could do in the late game. This is what this card do in the early game without being actually split cards. It makes me go, man, I really need to play some more limited in this format because that sounds pretty exciting that you have a lot of versatility on all these cards.
Yeah, I would say for sure that there is definitely a lot of versatility. Next one is a green instant, charge through. Target creature gains trample until end of turn. Draw a card.
Cute. Teamer Phoenix staple? No. We'll pass on that one.
And our next common, it's our last common. It is a lesson, and it's a good lesson to learn. Environmental Sciences, 2 generic mana sorcery. Search your library for basic land card, reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle. You gain 2 life. I mean, trying to find your third color of land. That's not a bad thing.
Yeah, this is definitely like a card mid pack you would never hate to draft. Pack would pick one. I'm not looking at it right now, but like you're not angry about it, especially if you're trying to smash in that third or potentially even 4 colors, just because there's so many exciting multicolor things going on in the set. So
if you have learned it definitely gives you that extra versatility for sure.
True.
All right, a first uncommon, 3 in a black, Mage Hunter, creature horror. It's a 3/4. Whenever an opponent casts or copies an instant or sorcery spell, they lose 1 life. There's a lot of instants in sorcery casting in this set.
There certainly is, and there's potentially going to hate on that. This looks like a sideboard card to me. If you notice someone is playing a lot of that mage craftiness stuff, not picking it so far.
Yeah, I think that's fair. All right, next one.
3/4 body though is actually not bad. We'll just
3/4 for 4.
Like that alone is not like with the extra effect. It's okay. I think this card's okay.
All right. Oh, my card's just falling all over the place. Here we go. Show of Confidence, 1 in a white for an instant. When you cast this spell, copy it for each other instant or sorcery spell you've cast this turn. Storm. You may choose new targets for the copies. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. It gains vigilance until end of turn.
Cool. It's really hard for me to pick a card like this first, but seems cool.
Yep. And our last uncommon is Shadewing Laureate. 1 white, 1 black, and 1 white-black hybrid. I do actually like the fact they're doing that with some of the cards.
Oh, yeah. What a wild cost. Yeah.
Creature Human Warlock. It's a 2/2 flyer for 3. Okay. Whenever another creature you control with flying dies, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. I can get behind that.
This is the first card that's challenging Eureka Moment for me right here.
For sure.
It's right there. It's right in there.
Yeah, I would put it there. And our rare, this is interesting. 4 for 4, white-black, hybrid mana, enchantment, dramatic finale. Creature tokens you control get +1/+1. Whenever 1 or more non-token creatures you control die, create a 2/1 white and black inkling creature token with flying. This ability triggers only once each turn. It feels like a build around.
Yeah. I might draft this first. Just go YOLO. I'm drafting everything that makes tokens, and with like all the red white stuff that kind of helps out. You might have an interesting Mardu deck kind of going on. I might first pick this and just try my best to make creature tokens because it seems like a fun way to play.
Yeah, I think no matter what way you slice it, we're going with a 2-color to start. So maybe our archive is an opt. Good old fashioned opt.
If I'm rare drafting, I probably want this because I really want that opt art.
It is pretty sweet. And our last card is a foil. It is a common, a 3 and a black for a 3/3 troll warlock novice dissector. Sorry. Gotta move the glasses up. For 1, sack another creature, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, activate only as a sorcery. Not really.
No.
The rare is interesting. I think I'm leaning towards the flyer.
Yeah, I think I'm going to caveat this. If I'm tryharding, probably Shadowwing Laureate, because I think the averageness of this card is like it's got a pretty high floor, so you're just like pretty happy with this as your first pick. But the ceiling of Dramatic Finale makes me go, oh man, if I'm sitting and looking around the room and like no one here is going to be that try hard, let's try to make this happen. I'm going to grab Dramatic Finale just
and I'm trying to make as many inklings as possible. Yeah.
And that's the thing I might just try to do for fun. But objectively, I will say if this is a PTQ or something, I don't know, something where I feel like I'm in the mood to try hard, I'm probably picking Shadowwing Laureate. But the fun card I think is Dramatic Finale here, and I'd probably try to work around it.
I would agree wholeheartedly, and I think if I'm like you, I just want to say, let's go for it. It would be fun to see if you could build it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'd be certainly one of those things where maybe this is like if I'm just like targeting the days of going to the store and drafting every week. But let's say this is my 4th or 5th draft or whatever. I go like maybe in the beginning I'm just picking Shadowwing Laureate because I'm just like learning the set. But if I've drafted it a bunch of times, I'm thinking, I got to try this craziness. By now, exactly. If I've drafted a bunch of times, and unfortunately, not a lot of in-person drafts going on right now. But
I would agree, it's a 6 weeks in first pick.
Yeah, 6 weeks in, I'm like, I'm going for it, and you're just hoping like that's usually a card you just kind of like want it to fall in your lap when you've already drafted a bunch of token strategies. And then that's there, but in this case, it's an interesting pick either way. But that is our game for the week, folks. If you have a different card you think you'd want to pick pick one out of that pack, let us know. You should be able to see them all on your screen, and you can let us know in the comments if you have any differences.
Yeah, if you're just sitting there thinking or yelling at your screen, these people are idiots, by all means, let us know.
Yeah, there's a chance I just grabbed that opt because I want it. But
it's a sweet looking op. Now that I'm actually getting, like, I'm just starting to open packs today, and now that I'm actually holding Mystical Archives in my hand, they're pretty nice.
Yeah, I've got a couple. I got a Swords to Plowshares, and I'm like, do I want to go and collect all of these? It's a maybe. It's certainly a maybe.
I opened one of my packs in a pre-release kit. There was Brainstorm.
Nice.
And I'm like, oh, awesome. And then like, oh, there's a foil. Oh, it's a foil Lightning Bolt.
Nice.
Yeah. So, and it looks sweet.
That's awesome, dude. All right, well, that's our game for the week. Let's move on to our little bit of brewer talk, see what decks we've kind of made up. JT, let's start with you. You wanted to talk Gladiator, right?
Gladiator. Yes, I had hosted a Gladiator tournament this past week. And so, I decided to pull a deck out of my deep archives that I know we haven't talked about before. But I made a Sultai deck a while back that is kicker tribal.
Right.
Sounds utterly stupid, but it is fun. And I actually won a match. Just my opponent was trying to do. There are some combos now in Gladiator thanks to some of the Mystical Archive cards that are just sick. And my opponent was trying to do. Essentially, he was trying to cycle and grape shot me, or like Storm and grape shot me.
Oh yeah.
with demonic. With dark ritual.
Oh yeah.
And he whiffed, and we didn't whiff, but he just came up short and hit me for 2 because he couldn't find the dark ritual. So I was able to get in. So the this thing, it plays most of the kicker cards from Zendikar Rising and from Dominaria.
Cool.
There's I would say there's no card here that's the key card. It's a gladiator deck, but I definitely want to see stuff like Verazal, the Split Current. That is the X 1 green 1 blue legendary creature serpent enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it for each mana spent to cast it. And then whenever you cast a kick spell, you may remove 2 +1/+1 counters from it. If you do, copy that spell. That gets absurd.
Nice.
That can get really absurd. And there's fun stuff like that and Slin Voda. But Myriad Construct is great if for 7 mana. And this thing has just a ton of ramp because that's the only way you're going to get anywhere. But the Myriad Construct, suddenly you have, if you kick it, suddenly you have an 8/8 construct. So it's a lot of fun. It's got some removal, some board wipes. I really haven't updated it much since I made this. I want to say right around the end of the year. It's a lot of fun. I will say, I'll share the deck list. If you're playing this, don't go into a tournament expecting to win a lot. But it's the official motto of Jank, right? All I need is one.
All you need is one.
And I got to win with this thing, so that's all I needed.
That's all you needed. All you needed to go, I'm going to talk about this on the podcast now, because at least I won a game.
I sat with a Grow from the Ashes. I just sat in my hand until I had the 5 mana, because I'm not going to cast this Knock Kick.
Who's going to cast it for 3? That's stupid. What a
loser. Get 2 more mana.
Get 2 more. That's funny.
It's ridiculous.
Nice. Yeah. Gladiator Gladiator's been kind of a wild format, eh? Like you were mentioning with all the new cards that kind of came out. I know there needed to be swiftly a bunch of bans basically to the format just because Mystical Archive just messed things up. Yeah,
definitely. I'm not fully up to date on all the bans, but I know there's been some, and it's just it's necessary because there was some guys who are actually playing in this tournament on Sunday, and they were like, I want to play this deck right now because I know X card is going to get banned soon. Yeah, and they were just doing ridiculous, like borderline commander ridiculous stuff.
Yeah, the legacy light stuff coming out of your singleton deck, and that's rough. And the thing is too is like with that format, it's like the ban, you don't get your wild cards back for the bans in that format because that's like community run. So it's just like kind of some crazy stuff. But at least it's singleton, so it's not like you potentially blew a lot of cards. But some people, just want to have fun with a super broken format for a little while because you just kind of recognize that it's a wee bit nutty. But the format is fun though, folks.
I really enjoy the heck out of it. Yeah, absolutely.
Certainly. So
you've been playing Commander.
Yeah, I've been playing a little bit more Commander lately, and I wanted to build an Alela deck because basically Alela is the commander that comes in the Brawl deck that Wizards released a little while ago. And the reason I wanted to grab it in the first place was because Smothering Tithe, I realized, is now like a $45 card on its own. And I was able to find the deck on eBay for $50 Canadian sealed. So I was like, that seems worth it. Basically get a Smothering Tithe and a free whole other deck. And then I was looking at Alela and I was like, this is a pretty cool commander. So just in case you don't know, Alela, Artful Provocateur, is 1 generic and white, blue, black for a 2/3 legendary creature, Faerie Warlock, that has flying, death touch, lifelink. That's pretty good to start with. But other creatures you control with flying also get +1/+0. But it doesn't end there. Whenever you cast an artifact or enchantment spell, you create a 1/1 blue fairy creature token with flying. So this has a lot of text on it and a lot of really cool stuff on it. And then, my brain kind of went like, oh, do I make stacks with this? Because stacks would be crazy. And like, that's what everyone essentially has done with this one. But then I thought, wait. What if I basically take this in a Joyra shell. Because no one really wants to play against Joyra, because Joyra is definitely that like boogeymander that just like really is kind of rough. So I'm like, hey, what if I then, instead of doing stuff where I'm just drawing infinite cards, I'm just making a ton of fairies with those mana rocks, and that's what this deck is essentially built out of. 25 of my quote unquote fairies in this deck are actually just mana rocks that you just play in order to make more fairies with Alela. So obvious ones like Soul Ring and all that are in that one, but some notable ones too as well. Unwinding Clock is in this one. Untap all artifacts you control during each other's players untap step, just gives you ton of mana. Of course, Smothering Tithe just stayed in this deck for that. So you have a crap ton of mana, and every time you drop a mana rock, you get to make a fairy. So clearly you have a ton of ways to buff them up. I have 10 different buff cards in this deck, including Cathar's Crusade, a Dictate of Heliod, Ethereal Absolution, because you make enough mana to actually cast this card in this deck. Favorable Winds gets in there. Felidar Retreat, Gravitational Shift, just tons of ways to give these little tokens even more power. But not only all of that, when you have all these buffs that just simply kind of go that way too, you have all this extra mana with this deck, and there's gonna be a couple ways to really play with that. I have a section called my combo section where all my mana really helps with all this. You have Ancestral Statue, which is a 3/4 for 4. It's an artifact creature golem. When it enters the battlefield, you return a non-land permanent you control to its owner's hand, and the reason for this is some of those mana rocks are just straight up artifact spells cost less, like Foundry Inspector and Joyra's Familiar. So with that, if you actually have enough of them, you could play Ancestral Statue infinitely and therefore make infinite fairies. You just keep returning itself and you just make infinite fairies. So there's a win condition there. I got Paradoxical Outcome and Rebuild in here to return all of those artifacts, all of those mana rocks to your hand. Of course, with Paradoxical Outcome, you also draw a card for each card you did that with. And then you just replay all those artifacts again so that you remake a whole ton of fairies and you have a gigantic armory once again. And I also have Semblance Anvil in here, which spells you cost that share a card type with the exiled card. Cost 2 less to cast. This has imprint, sorry, forgot to mention that. You exile a non-land card from your hand, so you exile one of your artifacts. Your artifacts cost 2 less. Again, with Ancestral Statue, that just brings you closer to making Ancestral Statue give you infinite fairies. So there's lots of fun stuff in this. And then the usual good removal, good card draw that kind of come into here. You use the kind of enchantment type removals because they make fairies when you do that. And other win con is potentially just to simply buff up Alela herself. All that glitters, obviously you have a bunch of artifacts, you put that on Alela, it just becomes gigantic. Cranial Plating, same thing. You got a couple of different like Lightning Greaves and Swiftfoot Boots obviously are in there to just help protect that. So you could just make a big Alela and come in and win with commander damage. So man, this is a fun way to play Alela. You're never mana screwed, which is pretty darn good. You're gonna start with the mana rock when you have 25 of them in your deck, and you just kind of keep going crazy with it. Lots of other cards. Obviously, I didn't go through every single one of them. You check out the link in the description to see everything else that's kind of in this deck. But I found it a really fun way to play Alela, and maybe more fairway than some of like if you played Stacks or whatever. But again, I actually don't think Stacks is unfair, but that's another conversation. But it's a fun way certainly to play this commander, and I'm enjoying it.
May I suggest another card?
Oh yeah, go for it.
We were just talking about it. Dramatic Finale. For black
Oh
white
yeah.
hybrid creature tokens you control get +1/+1.
Yeah, that potentially fits right into this deck too as well. There's so many ways to buff creature tokens, but this definitely gives that additional like protection to your tokens. So you can get rid of them or whatever. I'll make some other tokens. So yeah, that dramatic finale could certainly fit right into this deck too as well. Maybe I cut the ethereal absolution, maybe for that one because it is cheaper. But ethereal absolution is pretty
It's
cool.
sweet.
But,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, that's wild. I'd like to see that deck in action.
Leads us into our last topic because I touched when I was introducing the show. I was like, yeah, let's talk about how the meta is being affected by Strixhaven, and
there's crickets.
and it's a whole but even his historic, which is with a one where place where I was like, oh yeah, it's gonna be this massive shift because you've included so many of these so many crazy busted cards in it. You go to say MTG Goldfish and you look at the pages for both standard and historic, and they're identical from pre.
There's maybe one card here, one card there, but it's rough.
Yeah, and so it begs the discussion. Now there's the starting obvious of well, maybe we're just waiting for Throne of Eldraine to rotate out because it clearly has been too absurd of a set to really affect anything. Embercleave still super relevant. Yorion, that's an Ikoria card, but the Yorion decks and the ultimatums coming out of there just so strong for the standard format. And I look at Strixhaven's cards and we were just doing that pack one pick one and I go, hey, I like a bunch of these cards, but none of them can touch what's going on in standard or historic even, which again, that sounds crazy to me considering all the pretty wild stuff that we got in Mystical Archives. And yeah, I'm a little bit sad about it because I had kind of some pretty decent expectations coming for the set.
Yeah, it's and I really realized this when I was prepping for the CFB Pro, and just all the decks were the same as they were a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really sad, and I guess it speaks to Throne. And I really loved Throne at the time. Maybe I didn't get it at the time, but I've been hearing people say it over and over again, and it's very true. Throne is just so dominant.
Yeah.
And until it's gone, it's going to hold sway over the whole format.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not wrong.
Yeah, and I think part of it too is that basically we only see online results now because of what's happening, and you don't get to go to the store and someone didn't pull out their random Kaldheim themed deck or whatever that came out. You don't get to see all these kind of fun decks that maybe we would have brought out to the store as a result of getting a new set out. And you just see meta when you play arena at every level, honestly. Even silver, gold, platinum, mythic, whatever, it doesn't even matter. You just kind of see meta decks. It's just how people play them or whatever. So it gets a little bit draining, a little bit trying to play Magic. I was really looking forward to a historic shakeup. And to the point where oh yeah, so many of these cards are just going to be absolutely busted. Brainstorm is in the freaking format, and you thought that would flip everything upside down. Faithless Looting in the format, you think that would flip everything upside down, and even in a deck that you would think would run Brainstorm, you look down the list and it's not even running it. In Sultai control and stuff, you'd think that would find a home there, and you're like, what? But it's just kind of been real stagnant.
Yeah. There's no way around it. Since the last bans, it has not changed much, and even there was just a little impact from the last set we had, which was I'm already blanking Kaldheim. And now this one seems to have even less of effect, which I agree with you, especially in historic. I was surprised because I figured those Mystical Archives were really going to shake things up a lot.
Yeah.
But we'll see. It still may come in historic, but standard is stuck in its ways.
Yeah, and that's the maybe unfortunate reality we live in, folks, for a little while longer. But okay, so before we end off of the day, last question I kind of want to ask you about that is like, does that kind of make you concerned about like potentially like the future of Magic? Because when you see a set like Throne, or sorry, yeah, Throne of Eldraine come and be that dominant set, and that's what like basically everyone needs to open and everyone needs to basically have in order to play standard. Are you worried Wizard goes, okay, well we have to make things that powerful? Or do you think they're going to go on their way to correcting things and just like lowering down standard? Or are they scared of doing that because last time there was a set that was too powerful in Kaldheim? Or no, sorry, it's not Kaldheim. Kaladesh, kind of that block that took over the whole format and nothing changed until that rotated out. They tried powering it down. You got Ixalan and stuff, and then everyone was pretty mad about how unpowerful Ixalan was, and it didn't sell well. So then they switched back to power creeping back up, and you're like, oh no, this is awful. Like, I'm a little bit worried that's Wizard's cycle when it comes to standard sets, and I'm curious what you think about that.
So it's possible that it could be a cycle. I think you might be onto something there, but I think, and I've heard other people talk about this, and I think there's some truth to it. The fact that Kaldheim and Strixhaven and even Zendikar didn't make much of an impact on standard, didn't make much of an impact on Throne, says to me they've already pulled down the power creep.
Right.
That they've already made that course correction. We just have to ride it out with Throne.
Yeah.
And because I think when we go to this ban, or not the ban, sorry, we go to the rotation. So the next rotation this fall, we will lose Throne, we will lose Theros, Ikoria, and M21.
Mm-hmm.
So those drop off. So you have Zendikar Rising, you have Strixhaven, you have Kaldheim, and then you'll have the D&D set that comes out this summer, and the first of the Innistrad sets. At least the three that we know of, I can't see any one set being dominant.
Yeah, and what's kind of cool, at least this time around, because like last time when we were talking about Kaladesh, is that like it kind of overshadowed a set that I thought was really cool in Amonkhet. I thought Amonkhet block was awesome, but we never got to see how Amonkhet would shine without Kaladesh around because they rotated out at the same time. At least in this way, another set, Kaldheim, that I think is really, really cool and has really, really cool themes and has really, really cool cards that I think are really fun. I'm excited to see how Kaldheim can shine in a new standard that doesn't have Throne of Eldraine in it. And again, the cards that came in from Strixhaven, some of them are pretty cool and pretty fun. That spells spell slingy kind of style that I tend to enjoy to play. Maybe that you finally get to see that kind of happen in standard, and I hope that's where they go. And I hope they don't just like go, oh man, we really got to sell the D&D set, and it's not just absolutely insane and we're just back at square one.
Yeah, hopefully not. I would say, there maybe hasn't been a casualty like Amonkhet, but I would say there is going to be one casualty, and that is Ikoria. Ikoria was so different, especially with the mutate, which was probably one of the most confusing things when it was introduced. Everybody got it eventually, but when it was introduced, it was quite confusing. But it was so different, and it just never got its chance to shine.
Well, except for companions. Companions are pretty nutty, but but specifically the mutate mechanic. The mutate mechanic didn't get much of a chance to shine at all.
That's a fair point. I forgot the companions came from that set because I've tried to forget about companions.
I forget that they don't exist. I look forward to the day we don't have companions either. And again, this is the nerf powered down. Imagine if they never made the errata on how companion worked. We probably wouldn't.
We'd be bitching about Ikoria, not Throne.
Yeah, exactly. And just for companions, and companions still dominate. Every deck has a companion built around it at the top of the meta for standard, right? So
every deck, I mean, I'd say certainly over 50%.
Excuse me, for historic that I'm
for
looking
historic.
at. Sorry, I said standard, but like pretty much just Yorion for standard. But
you see some Luris for sure.
Yeah, you definitely see a little bit of Luris, but yeah. So that's well, that's a little bit of a downer, I guess, so far to end this podcast. But
I think the hopeful part is that, as you know, eventually, you know, we're what 4 or 5 months away from moving away from Throne. I mean, that being said, I love Throne when it came out. I still love it. It's one of my favorite themed sets. It just, you know, I'm not unaware of the damage it did to every other set that came after it.
And I again, we're talking about how Strixhaven has so many versatile cards. I'm a fan of like them doing the story cards, or what they're called.
Adventures.
Adventures. Thank you. I'm kind of a fan of the idea of that, but they pushed it a bit too much, as like Bone Crusher Giant is just kind of absolutely absurd, and maybe Murderous Rider was maybe the power level they should have been going for the backside of that card, because Brazen Borrower is kind of absurdity, and like both of them kind of going a little bit nuts on using that mechanic. So but again, I do actually like versatile mechanics. I like modal double face cards and all that. I like things having essentially 2 different costs, the low end or the high end. It makes it for an interesting, a limited atmosphere. But hopefully we get a little bit better of a balance in the future.
Yeah, that's why Valky is such a fun card, because you've got a good 2-mana card and you've got a good 7-mana card.
Actually, exactly. That's a premium example. I think Valky is a really, really cool card and well designed. So let us know what you all think about that, folks, in the comments below, about the meta, about all that. If you think we're just whining and just complaining, and maybe you've heard a million podcasts all whining, complaining, and you were kind of hoping you'd come to this one and not hear it happen as well. But too bad.
But ultimately, the biggest takeaway, folks, I can still play butts in Historic. That's all that matters.
You can still play butts in Historic. You could still play other formats that aren't standard in Historic. Let's be fair. Like, it's mostly just like, because Arena is like the #1 way to kind of play right now. Is there more complaints? Commander's still really fun. Gladiators we touched on, even though that got a big shakeup. But eventually after bans, it's still really, really fun format. So definitely other formats are still pretty cool. So we won't poo-poo on too many of them. JT, would you like to plug anything at the end of this podcast here?
Absolutely, yeah. Check out our events on Twitch. It's twitch.tv/JankyardMTG, and we have regular tournaments. And we'll be looking at starting a new league here probably at the end of May, beginning of June. So watch MTG Melee for sign up for that.
Yeah, definitely, folks. Check that out. I will plug my website, retouchmedia.com, which is essentially my portfolio of all the different things I do, between photography, videography, graphic design, marketing.
And this fine video you're watching right now.
This fine video you're watching right now, edited by moi. So if you need anything like that, please check out retouchmedia.com. I can eventually help you out. Maybe you have your own podcast. Maybe you have your own video ideas. Whatever it is, I can certainly talk to you. All right, folks, that will end it for the evening or day or whatever time it is that you're listening to this. We will see you all next time. Hopefully not another 2-week break, but let's just hope life stops getting in the way.
That seems fair.
All right, bye, folks.